the thing I always hear is like, oh, you'll get such great exposure. Well, yeah. I don't know about you guys, but in elementary school, I played that game called the Oregon Trail. Right. And I remember little Billy dying from exposure. So I ain't trying to go out like that.
Exactly.
You know? Welcome to the Passionate DJ Podcast. I'm your host, Mo Dingo, and with me is Noel Serrato coming from Arizona and Shawn Freeman coming to us from, are you in Charlotte or just
Greensboro, North Carolina?
Okay. Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Host of the Zombie Podcast. Noel Serrato is Phoenix best DJ. Yeah, he's calling his shot, like I said, every time we talk about his title. But give everybody your Instagrams. Noel, what's yours first?
Oh, best Phoenix DJ.
Okay.
And mine's, I'm at Freeman Daddy 5 everywhere.
Freeman Daddy. One more time to blur it out a little bit.
At Freeman Daddy 5.
Freeman Daddy 5. All right. So we will cut right to the chase today, folks. These two gentlemen I've talked to quite frequently over the years. They were our original crew, part of our original ambassador crew when we were looking to do some outreach with the show. And they are both respective mobile DJs, just like myself. And one of the things that we've talked to pretty routinely, if not weekly or monthly, is the lowball offers from clients.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. And what I mean by lowball offers, like you take the time to put together a contract for a client, and then, you give them an honest bid based off your market and what they're asking for, the duration, the location, travel, all that stuff. And they come at you and they're like, well, that's just too much money. And for some people that don't understand, especially like with weddings, most people haven't ever tried to pay for a wedding DJ before, so they don't really understand what it is they're paying for. But even after that, like Shawn, this is kind of a conversation you said you were having within the past 10 days or so, where you laid everything out for them, and they literally wanted to cut you like half of what you were asking for, right?
Yeah, they were. And, a lot of times people just don't, they're like, it's just 3 hours or 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But, the venues, sometimes $15,000. They got $30,000 vested.
Mm-hmm.
And really, missing work, being away from your family, travel, hotel, all that stuff like that is just unaccounted for whenever it comes from some of the clients. And, you can't go in the hole doing this, but you got to make it worth your while also. So, hotels, if you were working overtime, day job or this, that, and the other, there's a lot of things factored into that price other than I just need you for just 3 hours. A lot of times whenever I DJ, there's 4 days involved. We'll do a contract signing, then we'll meet up 2 weeks before. I get a rehearsal, and then the venue. So 3 hours is literally, and plus all the booking of all the songs and stuff that they want. Literally, you got 50 hours into it. When it's all said and done with travel and stuff like that. So 3 hours is the very the event itself is the very small part.
And I'd argue that's almost the easiest part is once you get there, because it's kind of like you get comfortable, you build a relationship with these clients and you know what they expect. So you just go there and it's just, you're there to perform.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, for some reason, the DJ is the most overlooked thing for, say, a wedding. We have to do a lot of times rehearsal. We're in control with the mic, introductions, all the music, of how the flow of it, the timing, everything. And we're a big part of their event. No matter how you look at it, it's everybody plays their part, but the DJ, I think, it should be up there.
I kind of look at us, we're like the ringleader, and there's all this chaos going on, and we're the ones trying to control the flow.
Right, exactly.
So Noel, like when you engage with a client, like what goes in when you're building your contract, like what is going into that price?
I'd say for me, it's just I give them different options, right? So like for DJ and master of ceremonies, I give them like hey, this is what it's going to cost you. You got a DJ, master of ceremonies. Do you want up lights? Do you want a personalized monogram? Do you want me to bring my photo booth? Those are like add-ons. So yeah, that's how I price my clients. I do tell them like, I don't charge you guys for going over a song list with you. I don't charge you for coming up with a timeline. It's all included in my fee. And I will, so it's unlimited conversations on the phone. It's unlimited going back and forth. But I do tell them that I may not make their rehearsal because I'm a DJ, and usually the rehearsal's on the day before for weddings, which would be on a Friday, and I'm DJing on Friday sometimes, So I tell them if I'm not DJing, I can make it. But if I am, I can't. I won't know until the time comes. And to be honest with you guys, like the rehearsals don't really, they don't really help me out that much. Like I find myself doing just as good a performance as DJ without going to the rehearsals. Then when I do go to the rehearsals, there's not much a difference for me there. That's why I just do not. I tell them like I might not make that rehearsal. That's a lot of time, like you were saying, Freeman.
Yeah. And see, well, I was gonna say, for me, like you was talking about charging for things like that. A lot of times, I have up lighting and dance lights and things that DJs should bring, but usually I just have a price for me to show up with my stuff because honestly, I'm not fishing for another job, but I'm fishing for another job. I want to impress. If there's 100 guests there, there's $100. And a lot of times,
every time you're in front
off of a gig,
every time you're working for a client, you're doing a wedding or just some sort of corporate event. Right. Your next client could potentially come from the audience.
Exactly.
So you're basically giving everybody there your resume, and they get a free taste,
Yeah.
Just like good drug dealers do,
Yeah. And the way that I got started DJing was we go to this pool and tennis club, and it was $1,000 membership. And I bought the DJ gear, and I was like, let's exchange the membership for, every other Friday, but the business that I got off of it and my name out there
was worth way more than that membership,
more than the $1,000 membership. So, and it was just good times. My family was at the pool and all that, but the pandemic has really put a damper overall on money, the lowballing, and the pity party free J that people won't do it, and they just don't exist.
Are you finding people are asking for free J's? And when we say free J's, we're talking about people that say, oh, come do this event. And the thing I always hear is like, oh, you'll get such great exposure. Well, I don't know about you guys, but in elementary school, I played that game called the Oregon Trail. Right. And I remember little Billy dying from exposure. So I ain't trying to go out like that.
Exactly. Not necessarily a free J. But before the pandemic, because you guys know, you could do, say, an event. And we talked about this pre-show, and a lot of times at the end of the event, common courtesy, when you go out to a bar, a lot of times you tip, but the same thing is with service. And most events, whenever you're DJing, say a wedding or a corporate event or whatever, they hand you a white envelope at the end of the night. And sometimes in that envelope, is $400 or $500 tip, and you're very thankful for it. But it seems like since the pandemic, people are wanting you to do entire events less than what some events used to tip you. And not all of them, it's just every fifth or sixth one that you get. And it's the pity party lowballing. And
so you're saying it's more frequent.
It's more frequent. It seems like since the pandemic.
So in the comment section, someone talked about, like I said, that whole exposure piece. Now, and I think all of us in our beginnings have done free events.
Right.
And I still do free events. And I know Noel, prior to in the before times, you were doing free events because I know that was part of like the way that you structured your business is that you wanted to dedicate a certain amount of events for free for like the community or whatever.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, kind of tell me your direction. Like, why would you do something for free?
Well, for me, it's personal.
Yeah.
I feel like if we're being like, if I'm successful and making money, I feel like I should always give back. It's just the way I am, you know, like it's just kind of like just a cool factor. Not a lot, no one appreciates it really. They, you know, I'm sure they do, but yeah, it's just because I feel like if you're going to be doing something in life, you want to do something that's worth your time and worth value, and what's more than giving back to your local community, right?
Yeah,
especially if you're doing well.
I try to do 3 free a year before the pandemic, and a lot of times I try to do like a church event, a special needs event, and then a school event, just to give back to the community. And all I asked was to say, you know what, the Freeman family donated their time to DJ this event, and we want to thank them for it. And they would always, you know, I didn't want recognition, but I wanted people to see that we were, as a family, proud of our last name and giving back to the community. And I'm still down for doing that once everything gets rolling again.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Like I would do free stuff, and mainly it was just dependent on what the event was supporting. Like I've done faith-based events for free, tons of fundraisers. But you know, the fundraiser has to be something I believe in. And when I say free, just meaning I'm not charging them like a full price. Like I'll either ask for like food or a t-shirt, you know, or something like that. But you know, when it comes to something like from a philanthropic standpoint, like I'm either going to do it for free. I'm probably not going to do it at all, you know, or to severely reduce costs. And even I was doing a lot of work for a local breast cancer fundraising community here, and they would just like give me like a stack of gift cards or just cash at the end of the night. And I never expected or asked for it, but I certainly do appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, and I ask Noel, so Shawn, like, what do you factor into your price? You know, I mean, do you take equipment? Do you take your experience, travel, all that stuff? Because I know you mentioned hotel stays, so it sounds like you travel a little bit.
Yeah. You know, I try to factor it all in. Used to, I was really bad for quoting a price without talking to the wife. So, you know, and just making sure things were right. But I would throw a number out to get the gig, and then I would figure up, all right, you know, I'm going to miss Saturday from work. You know, that cuts a third off. And you know, so talking to you, Mo, and you, Serrato, I have learned a lot over the pandemic. I learned how to say no. You know, you guys have taught me honestly how to be like, you know what, I just can't. And being honest with people, because I was the guy that would be like, yeah, man, I'll do it for beer or this or that. But, and I never done that, but I would always feel bad and be like, okay, I'll do it for that. And then, you know, the wife is like, what? Huh? What?
Yeah.
So, but you guys, I want to thank you guys for helping me learn the word no, you know, and now I have set prices, and if travel is involved, you know, that all 100% goes into the price. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I've got Sunday fun day, money for my family.
Yep.
And Noel, I know with you, like you have a pretty significant footprint, because I've seen like when you've totally maxed out like at high school events, and the first time I ever saw like your entire setup, I was blown away, dude.
Right.
So like the things that you have the ability to add on are far vastly of greater quantity than like a lot of mobile DJs. And when I say the stuff that Noel has to add on, like he's got the photo booth, he's got like full on like festival style lights, like, you know, innovators, and like he's got like high end stuff, and just seeing some of the work that he's done. And so, you know, and not everybody has that. So like when they talk about like pricing and add-ons and stuff like that, how long did it take you to get to that point where you could start adding on those extra pieces, like I said, the photo booth and the uplighting and the monograms and all that?
Yeah, so it took me like around I would say 2 years to get to that point. You know, as I started, and the only reason I even got to that point is only because I would start listening to podcasts and interviews of other DJs where I kind of wanted to be. So, you know, they would talk about, you know, don't buy any extra equipment unless someone's asking for it. When someone's asking for it, now you know you got to market. You got to market. Someone's asking for
versus buying something and trying to sell it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And when I first, so I learned from that. The first thing I did when before I learned that lesson. I bought like video VJing stuff, like a big screen and a projector. And I was like, oh, this has got to be the way where DJs are going to go, video DJing, And it ends up like, no, it's really not. People really don't want that. There's a pretty small market for that. And it's a lot more work to mix video and music and be talking to people while they're coming up to you. It's just like too much for my single core processing brain. So, you know what I mean? So like, I don't even offer it anymore. Yeah. But it took me about 2 years, I ended up finding out that people want like, I can market that shit that I bought, that stuff that I bought, that I thought people were going to want VJ. Market is like, look, you can we can have customized, like a video,
slideshow
a
or
montage
something like that. Yeah.
Of like, you guys, let's say for a wedding, I market it like instead of VJing with it, I was like, I can show a video during dinner. Like when you guys growing up separately, and then it's you guys to the point where you guys met and started dating, and then get to a point where we can have maybe the videographer do an interview for you guys on how you guys met, and we can integrate that into my screen, my projector and my screen. Because I had that thing sitting around, nobody wanted a VJ, like I thought they were, but
you repurposed it.
Repurposed it exactly. Uplights, same thing. I found out what venues were charging for uplights. Like if the wedding was going to be like the Hilton and they were charging X amount for uplights, I was like, shoot, I'm going to like undercut them about a couple $100. And so, so it took about 2 years to get to that point. And those some of the techniques I used in repurposing and just how to charge for what I had as add-ons.
Right. So are you guys teams of one, or do you have a crew that go with you? Like me, sometimes it's just me. And sometimes the wife goes, she'll go help me set up, and then go home if it's local, and then just on standby. Yeah, and
it's
sometimes I'll pay people to just come hang out with me, just in case I have to use the bathroom or something. But the right event, I can hand a buddy $300 to hang out, drink beers, and just be there, just
and get some good food. Yeah,
get some good food.
That's the thing. Like assistants are hard to come by. Credible, not credible, but like reliable, I would say. For a while there, like I got lucky where my sons were like teenagers. They're kind of grown now. I started DJing 7-8 years ago, getting into it. So they're kind of grown now, and I don't really have like anyone I can really count on, So that's changed the dynamics. That kind of brings up a different conversation, but it did change the dynamics on what I offered,
Oh, because you had an extra set of hands,
I used to have extra set of hands.
You had some free labor.
Yeah. I was like, your payment is rent and food, bro.
Yeah.
But like, so like, but that's a different subject and whatnot. But that's one of my challenges I'm having now. And like when people want me to like, oh, we saw this video, you had all this and that, how much does it cost? I'll tell them like, look, I need to bring an assistant for the photo booth. I have an assistant who also helps me set up and tear down and take questions when I'm like in the mix, and they're next to me to like handle the people that are coming up so I can stay in the vibe. And they're like, to them, they're just like, well, okay, yeah, thank you for your time. It ends up that they're going with like free J nothing over here who's charging $600 for a wedding,
Right.
And I don't know if I'm getting off subject.
But that's relative to your market, though. I mean, because and that's another thing that like kind of varies. So for listeners out there, like if we talk dollar values, other than equipment and stuff like that, like remember these things are relative to your market because you take the DC, Philly, New York area, you're probably talking an easy $3,000 for a DJ,
right?
But if you're like in central Nebraska, you're probably not going to be able to fetch that price, or just like even like where I'm at, just a few hours away where B-Funk's at, like the going price is like half of what DJs in this area can get away with. So folks that are listening and watching, just kind of take that into consideration as we talk about.
Well, when I went to the NBA conference, don't ask me what that stands for though, but it's like the wedding convention, right? For vendors that are in the wedding market.
Right.
One of the seminars I took was like on how to get high-end clients, right? And they were talking about regardless of where you're at,
I have a specific price point.
You have a specific price point, and you turn people down if it doesn't meet your price point. Maybe they're not for you, right? But they were telling me like across the nation, like every state, there is a market. There is a market where people have money that want to pay. The thing is like trying to get into and find that market.
Get in those markets.
The first step is to deny lowballing customers.
And one thing when people have messaged me and talked about, oh, I'm not closing all these deals and blah, blah. And my first thing that I always tell them is like, you shouldn't be closing 100% of your deals, because if you're closing 100%, you're doing something wrong, because
that made a lot of sense.
Yeah. Not everybody
the other day.
Yeah. Not everybody should meet your price point, and not everybody can meet your price point.
No, exactly. Yeah. And they're just not for you. They're not for what it is you're trying to do.
So now, what do you guys do? Say if you hit, 4 low ballers in a row, and there's like, they see your message, you give them the price, it's on like Facebook Messenger, and then nothing, I mean, do you ever be like,
like get
maybe
frustrated?
I can go down a little bit, but I haven't done that since over the last 6 months, if they don't answer back.
So Noel, how do you address that? How do you like, how does that play out for you? So Serrato, Noel.
Yeah, Serrato. Yeah. So for me, I use keywords. Like there's keywords in my responses. Like, hey, for example, hey, just following up. Did the price I give you, is the quote I gave you going to work for you? And usually that begs like a response. No, we found someone else, or your price is a little too rich for me, or whatever. And so then I'll say, well, look, I have these other options. And that's where, I bring it down from like $1,400 to like $1,100. Look, I don't have to bring all these bells and whistles. I'll bring just my setup, and I'll bring this facade. I'll send them a picture. I can bring this. And it'd be like just my facade and my 2 speakers and like a couple of like gig bar IRCs.
Right.
You scale it down for them. Yeah.
I scale it down. And what I'm leaving out are these glow totems that have intimidator, nightclub spotlights, and uplights that I bring. So they're like, oh, that actually might work for us. You know what I mean? So I'm willing to go down to like $1,100, but I don't go any lower than that. No, I'll tell you what though, like 5 years ago, I was bringing all my stuff out, and it was like I was doing like $850, $800 gigs, with that stuff,
fully loaded
and fully loaded, right?
Yeah. See, that's where I'm at, because I'm like, if I don't bring my lights, then it undersells my business. So I'm trying to be like, wow, for the eyes that are there.
And that's where you get yourself in that conundrum where you're like, well, I want to provide everybody the same service, but not everybody can afford the same price. So you're kind of like doing yourself an injustice by providing that platinum level tier of service for the like bronze price. But I do understand that, like, well, this is my reputation. I want everybody to see everything I'm capable of. And you kind of have to leverage that with the people that are in front of you that you're quote auditioning for, since the couple has already given you the money.
Right. Well, I talked with you guys, it may have been on the last show, but it was like, people would come in and I would honestly feel, I would stereotype them, look at them and be like, you know what, maybe.
God, you're profiling people, man. Come on.
Yeah. but just, when it comes to price, if I didn't get a fast response, I was quick to go down to be like, you know what, I can bump it down to this.
Oh, so you were putting pressure on yourself to close the deal.
Myself,
okay.
But you guys have taught me, you know what, I need to set the bar. Anything above that bar is good, but don't go below the bar. So I've learned the word no, like I said, this is minimal, and that's it. Take it or leave it. Whether I know you or don't know you, stranger, friend, it is a business.
And also another piece of information to add, that we all do this as a side passion project. This is not our primary source of income. So we do, the 3 of us respectively do have that leverage where we can say no, and it's not going to impact anything. I mean, maybe, we don't supersize our fries, next month, but we're still eating. So also take that into consideration.
All day, nuclear welding all day long. So it's DJing is like, dude, it's like my drug. It's like I like good music. I like DJing because I like to play songs that people haven't thought about in ages. And when they hear it, they instantly reminisce. Wow. And I love it. It keeps my mind at ease, but it is a business. And,
for sure. Yeah.
If I like taking cruises too. So if I cannot touch my bank account and take a 7-day cruise with my family of 5 and do it, proving people out is what I'm in it for.
Yeah. So, we talk about price and the low balling aspect. Like, what would you consider a low ball offer? Because sometimes people like Noel said, he would offer a different tier of service. But like for me, I kind of have like all in pricing. That's just kind of the way that I operate within my market, and it works for me. And I tell my clients up front that, that's kind of what I do and that's how I operate. But I also tell them, and when it comes to my pricing, they're like, hey, I'm not the most expensive DJ, but I'm not the cheapest DJ either. I was like, but what you're getting from me for this price is X, Y, and Z. And so I set the expectation that, don't expect me to come in there for $100, but at the same time, you're not going to have to sell a kidney either, and setting some expectations during that initial conversation with clients.
Well, for me, the low balling comes like if I do a wedding or a corporate event and people see me, a lot of times they throw money at you. We want you, we like your personality. We like that you talked a lot. We like that you wasn't no stage fright there. You kept the people going. You played the old classics. Who would have thought that he mixed a Pantera song into a Bob Marley song? Because I worked in a bar. You've got to be able to play the request and be able to mix them somewhat together. Good, but it's the people that say, like on Facebook, I'll get a tag notification. And I'm like,
oh, hey, I'm looking for a wedding DJ. And
I'm looking for a wedding DJ.
Shows your name
tag
in there.
you in it, and they'll post a picture of your card, and then those people will be like, how much for you to do the wedding? I'm like, well, first off, what are we even talking about? They won't even say nothing about nothing. I'm like, is there travel? Are you guys local or whatever? Dude, and I can honestly be like, you know what? It's 5 miles away, $1,250. I'll do it. And they'll be like, oh, we were thinking like $350. And I'm like,
I can rent you some speakers.
Yeah. And you taught, you taught me a quote last also, Mo, over the pandemic. You want a cheaper DJ, I'm not your guy, or you it was something to that effect.
Yeah.
Or I know a cheaper DJ if that's what you're looking for, but it's not me. And it's always those Facebook tags that for events to where they're like, oh man, nobody's doing nothing for, I'm not for $300, $500, $600.
But like you were saying earlier, DJs are, and I don't know what your experience is, Noel, but like, I kind of agree with what Shawn said earlier. Is like, I think DJs are probably like so far down the totem pole in the order of things to get accomplished when it comes to a wedding, where they've already paid for a venue, a couple grand. They paid for catering, a couple grand. They paid for photos, a couple grand.
Dress.
Dress, rings, you name it, honeymoon. So by the time sometimes they thinking about the DJ, it's like so far. Like I had a couple reach out to me and they're getting married next month. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Yeah. And I was a little concerned about what, how they're going to look at my pricing, but they actually, been a pleasant couple and, I'll be meeting with them next week. And they said they're interested and, we'll do a contract signing and go from there. But why do you think there's that perception that, Noel, like why would the DJ be so inexpensive? Yeah.
That big.
Because just because they don't see things the way we do. They don't understand that if they're going to just get a DJ, not just get a DJ, but have their DJ as the sole entertainment for the evening, how important that is. We do it a lot. So what we have to do, what I feel we have to do and what I practice is having that in mind, but trying to give them analogies or explaining to them the importance of the DJ. And as you mentioned earlier, being a ringleader. My analogy for them is like, look, the DJ is going to be the main source of entertainment. It's going to make or break your evening. I understand I charge a lot, and some other DJs they charge less.
MCing.
But what I do, so what I'm doing is like I'm saying to them is think of it this way. If say you take your car to a mechanic, and you're wanting them, one mechanic's charging you $350, but the other dude's charging you $900, right? To do whatever kind of work. All right. How much experience does that mechanic have, right? How much experience in fixing vehicles do they have, and how many reviews do they have? So like for me, that I can utilize that because I have a lot of reviews, I have a lot of experience, right?
Right.
So that's what I do now is I try to give them analogies and explanations as to why it's really important to have a DJ that experienced, that's very experienced and knows what they're doing versus a DJ who may not, Right. Now, I know that's kind of effed up a little bit because I was one of the DJs that didn't have a lot of reviews, didn't have a lot of experience at some point. That's why I was saying for me, I can do that. And that's what I do is
But you had to pay it with sweat equity to build that reputation though.
I did. Right. I did a lot actually.
And I need to knock on wood. Dude, I've never had one complaint. I've been very, 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 very lucky. But I put my heart into it, man.
Yeah.
That's why you don't have any complaints.
Yeah, and I would agree too. Like I've been fortunate to not have any negative reviews. I may have like Aunt Judy got upset because I didn't play her song or something, and that's fine. Yeah, I can eat that because I have to play to what's in front of me. But I've never had anyone, and I've seen bad reviews on Facebook and on Google of DJs, and I think. And I'd like to believe what Noel is saying is true, is that because they know that I'm working my hardest for them is why, everything that I've done so far has been positive and even netted additional business as a result of that.
Yeah. And I did want to say that, being that this is the topic, we're not three DJs that are got our own pity party because, this is literally like, one out of, just how do you deal with these random rocks thrown into your gears of DJing? Because, people pay, underpay, and I'm not saying that they don't. We're just talking about these random ballers. How do you deal with them? Do you go with it or do you not?
I think for me, during that initial conversation is I tell them, I'm very upfront. I'm like, like I said earlier, like I may not be the DJ for you. I was like, but at a minimum, I'd like to help. If my numbers don't work for you, that's fine. I'm not going to get upset. And if anything, I'd like to help you find someone that can meet your budget. And by kind of disarming them and letting them know that I'm not going to get upset or butthurt about it, I feel like sometimes that helps them make an honest decision quicker.
Right.
Versus just being left in the dark. Because I'd say probably about a good 80% of the deals I don't close, I get feedback. Like they'll tell me, hey, we went with someone else because the price was just worked for our budget, things like that. And I appreciate that. Because nothing sucks more than trying to go through all your emails and figure out who you have to contact and whose date you can give away, when you don't get any feedback.
I feel like a lot of people, I think this is what I feel and see, is that a lot of DJs are people that want to be DJs. I didn't mean to cut you off, Freeman, but a lot of people who wanted to be DJs utilize their stimmy money to buy this DJ stuff. They want to go that whole route, right?
Yeah, I never even thought about that.
Influx of dudes that are coming out the woodworks that are have DJ equipment, whereas there wasn't that in the past.
Interesting.
I really think that that's what's affecting me here in my market.
Is there a lot more traffic as far as event DJs out there?
Here.
Okay.
It's congested with a bunch of new DJs.
Really?
Well, Freeman Mommy told me the other day, it's weird that you say that because Freeman Mommy, she texted me, she said, I see that there's a lot of new DJs around. You just don't want to lose in the mix. And that's when I text you guys. I was like, man, because kind of feeling lonesome, I'm focused on work. I'm enjoying my family. You know what? We've been going to movies and watching Ozark and things like that. and DJ has not been on the back burner, but it's been it's kind of in between. But you're right. I think a lot of people think that you can just go buy this equipment and be a DJ.
And boom, you're a DJ. Yeah.
But there's really a science to it, to, whether it be knowing, say Midnight Star, to jam on it, to the new stuff, to the trap, to the country, it's you got to kind of, there's more to it than just buying the gear.
Coming out of the dark times, coming through the pandemic, have your prices stayed the same? Are they lower? Are they higher? What have you guys done with your pricing?
Go ahead, Freeman.
Mine's actually gone up after talking to you guys. I always had a standard, and whenever I first started DJing, I would lowball the client. I would.
You wanted to close deals.
Yeah, I wanted to close deals, so I would just be like, all right, here's a price, and they'd be like, oh my god, that's like free. Sure, I'll pay $800. And I was like, God, how do you read people? So that's helped me set standards now. So my prices have actually went up, to where there's a minimum. I was listening to a couple of shows on YouTube, and they're like, if you have an iPad and speakers, it should be no less than $1,500. And, I'm listening to them, dude. I've learned the word no, man. I'm going to say it again. Serrato, my wife, and Yumo have taught me the word no. So there's a base price there. It's kind of based on our area. I kind of took a poll, and if I've heard of people hiring these DJ companies here in Greensboro, like the local DJ group or whatever, an actual business to where they pay their DJs by the hour to give them business, is like insane, stupid, crazy money. And it's literally fade left, fade right DJs. There's no rhythm, no, it's literally just fade left, fade right, fade left, fade right. And it's, I want that money too. I'm not the best, but I've learned the art.
Yeah. So what about you, Noel? What have you done? Has your pricing changed? Is it the same?
So like for me, the pricing, I didn't have a lot of gigs, man, when coming out of COVID. But COVID stopped me dead in my tracks. Just to give you a reason why I changed my pricing for like around 4 or 5 months there was because when I used to like get 3 gigs in 1 month, I thought like, shit, dang, things are getting bad. When COVID came,
we talked about that at New Year's. Yeah, you had 3 gigs in a year, right?
I got 3 gigs in 1 year.
Yeah.
So when coming out of COVID, I was like, damn, I had my regular prices on Coiny People that I did before COVID, but I wasn't getting any hits, no bookings. Thought it was really weird. I couldn't put my finger on it, so I lowered my prices.
With that, do you think it was you, or do you think it was just the market?
I think it was the market.
But you perceived it as being your prices, like in that moment, like it was like an emotional thing. You're like,
it was a global thing, in Facebook groups, Serrato. You would hear people in Poland and Ukraine and DJs all over the world that we're going through the same thing. Is it me? Is it my service? But it was a global thing. We all felt it. We all felt that way. I did.
Yeah, I can totally see how
I lowered my prices, dog, and I got the gigs. I got gigs.
Okay.
I lowered it down to like where I was 5 years ago. I was like, all right, $800 for a wedding. Boom, booked. $1,100 for a wedding. I was like, oh, okay, boom. So I was like, kind of like
riding the wave. Like, okay.
Riding the wave, kind of getting myself back to like, okay, $1,100-$1,200 things where people are kind of comfortable pushing it. And so now I've gotten to the point where like, I just throw some add-ons now. Like, hey, I got this extra thing, put your name on there. Sometimes they want it, sometimes they don't. I got Dancing on the Clouds now coming in. I got some cool laser box where it puts their name on the wall now. If I type it in, I can put messages and their names up there. I need to get a fucking license for that laser, by the way. But anyway, to operate it.
I'll make sure and delete that. I'll delete that.
I want to say, for the passion DJ community, I'm sure the passionate DJ community, a lot of people are in the same groups that we are on Facebook.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you go to those groups and it's like, you know what? $9,000 is the less I charge, and 8,000, 7,000. And it's just these insane topics on these pages, dude. That's what I like about the passionate DJ, dude. It is so realistic to how things are. And like this show that we're talking about, you know, if you went on some of these pages, like, dude, I charge $2,000 to do a wedding, they would call you ignorant and an idiot and stupid and a fake DJ, a sync button, this and that. And everybody don't live in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
People don't have Dubai money.
They don't have giraffe money. Yeah.
Making $9,000 3 times a week doing weddings. It's just, that almost need to leave those groups on Facebook. I've learned that the Facebook DJ group is kind of down to earth, but most of those is just trash talking and egos, and there's no realism to any of that stuff. The passionate DJ community is definitely the best.
Well, I mean, and you guys are the ones that make it, so that I thank you guys for being a part of that. But going back to the pricing thing, actually, and I don't think I ever shared this with you, Noel, but part of the reason, no, it's all good.
Curve.
Part of the reason I actually modified my pricing is because that conversation we had back at the beginning of the year, when I took over the show, and we had that pretty long talk, and we chopped it up and put it in that new episode for the beginning of the year. And one thing Noel said that really resonated with me is during the pandemic, like, he got really used to, and you've said it, Freeman, as well, just spending time with your family and, you know, having conversations with B-Funk. You know, he said the same thing. You know, we had all that time to spend with our family, and I had to seriously sit there and think about it. Like, do I want to do this anymore and lose this time that I have with my family? And, you know, granted, it's just myself, my wife, and we got 2 dogs and 2 horses, but, you know, still, do I want to miss that time where I can go drive and see my son coach football, you know, or, you know, go, you know, my daughter, she's graduating this year, and go watch her play softball, things like that. And that really motivated me to raise my pricing to a point where I even thought that people weren't going to respond. But again, you know, talking myself up, you know, giving them experience, giving them references, and talk about what I bring to the table. And I mean, my closing, I'm probably about around 70-80% in terms of closing, but I'm okay with that because I'm commanding such a higher price that it makes up for all those gigs that I'm not getting, you know, and and I'm okay with that.
Dude,
you know,
family time. You're so right about that. Yeah, I remember during the pandemic, I would go to work. I'd come home. I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna risk death. I'm going to the grocery
I'm going to
store.
Taco Bell.
and I would literally go, dude, and get like all these boxes of ice cream and, you know, movie and snacks. And dude, the pandemic sucked, but the time that I spent with my family was just.
I remember seeing lots of pictures of you making pork chops on the grill, on the flat iron.
Yeah. And
Nice.
you know, I have a nice day job, and I do a zombie radio show. It's kind of a live radio show out of Los Angeles, even though I'm in North Carolina. But the DJing thing, like I said, was always mental medicine.
So
you know, I want to share with you guys too, man. Like, I did do a gig for hella cheap last night. I know we're talking about lowballing, free jaying.
Yeah,
right.
I did the cheapest gig I've done in many, many years.
Well, so let's talk about it then. I mean, because I mean, we understand lowballing and we don't like to do it, but you took the gig, so I mean, obviously there was some motivation behind that.
There was.
Yeah.
So like my daughter, she's pretty young. I don't know if you guys can see her.
Yeah.
But she's 15 and she does face painting, right? So she got into like face painting and that, and we got her a gig to do a birthday party, kid's birthday party, 5-year-old birthday party, backyard. And they were like, "Oh, so you do DJing too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but like I charge so much and it's graduation season. No, I probably won't even." She's like, "Oh, okay." Well, the morning came yesterday morning, and I was like, "Hey, well, fuck, I'm gonna be there taking my daughter."
Right.
You know. Yeah. So I hit her up. I was like, "Hey, do you want a DJ?" Like, because I just lied and said so they canceled or whatever. I didn't have a gig. I was like, "They got canceled." I said, "Do you guys, you want a DJ? Like, I'm gonna be there with my daughter anyway. I could bring very minimal setup, 2 speakers, no lights, because the thing was like 4:30 to like 7.
Right? It's gonna be the sun don't go down till like 10 o'clock in Phoenix.
Bro, yeah, I was like, dude, it was so hot. By the way, I got to tell you about this issue I had with my equipment. But anyway, I told them like,
humidity.
Yeah.
I told them no, it's dry. It's dry, dude. I'm telling you what happened though. But I told them like, look, I'll do it for 3 hours, $350. And I said, she's like, oh yeah, you know what, that works. We'll do that. I'm like, cool. 350. But the way I looked at it was like,
you're already going to be there.
I'm already be there, and it's
gonna be a good
2
time.
Speakers. Yeah, it's pretty chill. Like, dude, this is a cool opportunity. I got my daughter here. I'm gigging with my daughter. What? Yeah, she's like 15 years old. It's kind of cool.
That family hustle.
Because more people asked for her number than they did for mine. Whatever. So man, she got tipped as much as I got tipped.
Guess who's paying for gas?
Dad. Yeah. Know me. So, but yeah, no, I think it was cheap and there was motivation behind it, like you said. But I hadn't DJed a gig for $350 since the beginning of when I started DJing.
Yeah. But do you look at that as lowballing or freeJing? No.
Me, what I did?
Yeah, what you did. Yeah.
No, because I had motivation.
It was a joy, right?
My daughter.
Yeah,
it was joy, dude.
And as a business, that's your choice.
For sure,
that's exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it was nice to have that opportunity to do it, but I did want to come clean and be super transparent. Like, we're talking about this conversation, and I actually did a $350 gig last night.
We all would have done that gig.
But see, I think the difference lies in the fact that you offered to do a gig knowing you weren't going to command your normal price, but you also had different motivation because you wanted to spend time with your daughter doing something cool with her.
Yeah. Dude, it was really cool bonding.
Sunday fun day money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much, yeah, man. It was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. So closing out, kind of going back over what we covered, in terms of those lowball offers, I think we can all agree is just, the first thing you can do to try and avert any of this is just tell them what you offer, because I think a lot of these counter lowball offers come from an area, and I don't say this with malice, but it comes from ignorance. They don't understand what we do. Right. They don't understand what we bring to the table. They don't understand the value of all the equipment, all the experience, the knowing what songs to drop with what, and the catalog and crowd reading and all that stuff. So just kind of telling them during that initial consultation, like what it is we do and why we're asking for this particular price is probably the best way to try and avert some of that, just by providing a lot of education. What do you guys think?
I totally agree. I think I was mentioning it earlier when I was talking. It's like giving them analogies of like the mechanic thing, and then letting them know like your experience, telling them like just kind of selling yourself, but just being real honest with them. Like, I charge this much because your DJ is the only form of entertainment at your event.
Yeah, I've never thought to say that. I'm definitely going to steal that from you. It's on record. Yeah.
And I do want to say on lowball, and one word of advice is like I said, I've never had a complaint. I've had 100% good feedback, but I have learned that in for these lowballers, usually the ones that lowball are going to be the bridezillas and why are you running a cable here and this, that, it seems like the lowballers are more stern about everything.
Yeah.
And the people that just throw money at you and say, you know what, make sure we have a good time.
Yeah.
Make it happen. I agree.
And to kind of go on a side note, and this goes with why I've raised my prices. I think once you kind of set your pricing to a certain level, you kind of minimize your exposure to certain types of behavior. Like you said, people that are super nitpicky, because people at a certain price point have a certain expectation that their money is going to a certain level of service. So they're not going to ask you, well, why do you only have black scrims? Why don't you have, white scrims, and why this, why that, why don't you have this version of my song? When you start to price yourself in a certain position, I personally feel like you price yourself out of certain problems.
Right.
It's true.
So the next thing I think, from all our discussion today, I think we've agreed on is like setting a minimum. Like you have that minimum amount of money that you're willing to accept to take time away from your family, to do all the travel, and for all the mental gymnastics that it takes to be an event DJ for whether it's a wedding or a corporate event or, a 5-year-old's birthday. Set that minimum.
And I agree, Mo. Set the minimum and don't dig out of that minimum for travel and expense, and be like, you know what? I'll start. My minimum will be say $1,250, but you know what? All right, there's the hotel, there's that.
Nah, you stack that on.
300 now. No,
you stack that on. Yeah,
you should the bar and go up from the bar. Don't go down, because you'll end up. I mean, doing $150 gig, even though they're handing you $1,250.
Yeah, you wind up losing money.
Always go up.
I like feeding, like we feed off each other, man. Because Mo told me one time, like, charge what you think you're worth. And that takes you back a step to like giving yourself self-worth. What am I? What is my time away from my family? What is my time to me?
I mean, I've never really sat down and done the math, but I figure for a wedding, I'm probably putting in a solid 20 hours plus.
Yeah.
When it comes, but I'm talking like from the initial phone call to the follow-up phone calls to the emails.
List.
Yeah. Building a playlist, driving out to a venue and checking it out. If I make the rehearsal, all that, and then just the event itself. So that's a lot of time. That's like a part-time job for one event,
Yeah. There's no 4-hour event. It's your day. Your day is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. The event itself takes 4 hours, but everything else leading up to that, that's what you're paying for,
I think mine is like 18 hours, honestly, now that you mentioned that.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Because like I don't get home till like 11 hours. I leave the house and I'm back 11 hours later, dude.
Yep.
And the stress. And I'm not saying it's bad stress, but knowing, hoping everything goes right is stressful.
And thinking ahead and playing dodgeball and, putting out fires that aren't even yours to put out.
Exactly. Exactly. And you're the first one there and you're the last one
to leave.
And it's weird, a lot of times my wife will go with me to these gigs and even though if it's a good paying gig or if it's just a gig I agreed on, my wife likes to see weddings go right. So a lot of times she'll step up, and if there's no wedding plan or anything like that, my wife really needs to start a wedding business because, sometimes in rehearsals, the bride and the groom don't even know which side to stand on. Who's on the right, who's on the left, and my wife always takes the reins a lot of times. And it's like, no, all right, go bridesmaid, go. Yeah.
I don't even go to those.
Learn the business. Do you guys ever take your wives with you, say to a wedding or anything like that?
No.
Yeah, no. My wife will go with me every once in a while if she wants to check out the venue.
To the rehearsal or to the gig?
She doesn't come to me to gigs, but she'll come to like if I'm doing a walkthrough or a rehearsal.
Yeah,
and especially if it's because there's one that's my favorite venue. It's literally like 50 miles away, but there's this really good restaurant that we always like to go to. So she'll come out with me for the walkthrough or the rehearsal, and we'll go have dinner and a beer afterwards. And the people are super awesome that run that place. Shout out Ren Farm, Mechanicsburg, Ohio.
I do put in my contracts always +1 just in case.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
But a lot of times I like my wife to be there, and then I'm set up and everything's working. I'm like, all right, go. Because I'm always like, what if I forget a cable at home an hour away? What would I do?
You want her home so that it's not a 2-hour trip.
Yeah, for sure.
But I gotta be like, it looks like this.
FaceTime.
My wife says
I've done that, man. I'm like, I don't bring her. I know you're trying to close this out, but I don't bring my wife to any event because I feel like they're mostly like private events, and they're just expecting the DJ, like just the DJ, maybe your assistant.
All right, my Like when I was working the sports bar, my wife sometimes would show up, and the night she wasn't there, I would get more tips. And she's like, "You work the tips.
You mess with my paper, babe. You got to go home." Yeah.
Because I mean, you guys know as DJ,
it's the beard. It's the beard,
especially
man.
working in a bar.
Yeah.
The girls will come up rubbing your wedding band, saying, da, 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 da.
What? Where are we going? I want to go to that bar.
And then
the tip jar.
So and last one, and I know this is something that, when I told Shawn this, something he never thought about, but sometimes you just gotta say no.
No.
Shouldn't be closing 100% of your client. Absolutely not.
Dude, that's a new word to me, man. And you taught it to me. Oh, you and Serrato and my wife.
Yeah.
It's okay to say no. It's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Because all that's going to happen, in my opinion and in my experience, is when I've taken an event that I wasn't satisfied with the price, I'm just frustrated while I'm there. And I think about why am I doing this for this much money? And it's not fair to the client. And it's not fair to me, and it's not fair to my family.
You gonna run that drop cord over there? Really?
Are all your speaker wires black?
Yeah.
Do they come in any other color?
You're gonna use 2 of those big speakers. Yes. I love it.
I ain't gonna lie, dude. Like I can sense when they're gonna be at Zilla. Mm-hmm. I've canceled on one person.
Oh damn!
And I not canceled. Like before she wanted to get me, and so we had a consultation meeting. Like,
it wasn't like you booked her and then you canceled.
No, yeah,
okay.
I didn't. Yeah, it was just like, I was like, my wife's talking to me over here in my ear. I guess I have like a niece's birthday party I gotta be at that day. Yeah, so I was like, this is out of town. Yeah, like I skirt myself out. That was one time because
you saw it coming.
You DJ enough times, man. You don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And pro tip for everybody out there, if you do decide you want to cancel on somebody, make sure you put it in your calendar that you canceled on that person on that day. Because I know people stalk some social media, man. So, all right, gentlemen. Well, I thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing the not so great stories of the Lowball Blues. If you guys have any stories of yourself or how you deal with these types of situations, go ahead and leave something in the comment section below, or reach out to one of us. Let's talk. Noel and Shawn just started off as guys that were followers of the show, and now we talk pretty, I'd say, if not daily, weekly for sure. So yeah, we're all here to help. That's what the Passion DJ community is about. With that being said, that brings this episode to a close. I'm Mo. Wash your damn hands. Keep on spinning.
Thank you.